He got you into the store.
He was very aggressive and pushy, and next thing I knew, he was practically on top of me.
And you said you felt as if you couldn't leave.
I've been held against my will before and kidnapped, and I was literally traumatized at that point.
This is Judy Justice. Linda Bernadeschi is suing salesman Eric West for the cost of skincare products.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2114, Bernadeschi versus West.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would you pronounce your last name for me?
Bernadeschi?
Bernadeschi.
Yes.
Well, I read your complaint. I somehow was taken back to my own experience just walking down any street that has a new cosmetic place. So I sort of believe I understand what your experience was, at least initially, with Mr. West. Mr. West, you're a salesman for what company? And where are they located?
Well, they're all over the United States, but I worked for one in San Francisco.
Where are the products manufactured?
In California, actually.
Where?
Chatsworth, California.
Okay. And they have brick and mortar stores all over the country?
Mm-hmm.
And they have many products, but under that one name?
Yeah, they have many products.
Many products, but they're all...
Yes. They have multiple products and multiple locations all through California, and it looks like a bit of Arizona as well.
How many?
Upwards of 20 locations.
Okay. And can you tell me, Sarah, is it a corporation?
I'd assume so. They're about page.
How long have you worked for the company, sir?
That company in that location, about 3 years.
Where is the corporate headquarters for the company?
It's located in San Mateo.
Do you know if the company was incorporated in the state of California?
Yes, I believe it was.
Under that name?
Mm-hmm.
It's not an answer.
Oh, yes, sorry, my apologies.
It looks like it was an LLC out of Oregon, but is listed as inactive as of 12/22 of 2020.
There's no company in California?
It just says the jurisdiction in which the LLC was created is Oregon. That's as far as I could tell. They have a company address that's listed in a head office
Is
in
where?
Portland, Oregon.
What do you know about Portland, Oregon?
It's a lot of hippies.
A lot of hippies. What about your company?
Oh.
Do you know anything about your company?
Yes, I think it's probably another location there as well.
Do you know anything about the company that you work for? Was it incorporated in the state of Oregon?
No, it was incorporated in California. And I think Oregon maybe has a franchise.
I can't tell from public record anything
From
further.
the state of California.
I tried looking up their headquarter information, and all I got was this Cosmetics LLC from Oregon.
And while I'm taking this information, I want you to take a look and see if there are any court cases. Let's try the state of California and the state of Oregon.
Sure.
And the only thing that you could find was the Oregon company under that name that is no longer active.
It might not be the same company, but it has the same name listed in Oregon, so I would assume so, but there's no information on their website about their headquarter information.
Anyway, Ms. Bernadeschi, trying to think of the date that you made these purchases. What date was it?
It was February the 21st, 2022.
And you were shopping, you were walking with your dog.
Mm-hmm.
Had a little dog?
Yes.
What kind of dog?
A Shih Tzu.
A Shih Tzu.
Yeah.
My fave.
Oh, yeah, mine too. She's my third one.
You were walking in a mall. What mall and where?
In Santa Clara, California.
That's where you were working.
Mm-hmm.
How long had you been working there?
3 years.
Okay, this is what the case is about as far as I can tell. You were walking. Was it this gentleman who was standing outside?
No, it
was somebody
not.
else.
It was somebody else.
It was somebody else. One of the other people who works at your business?
I was the one who offered her a sample.
Outside?
No, in the front of the store.
Well, but it's in the front of the store.
I didn't step outside of the store. I was in the front of our store, not outside of it, but inside the store, and I handed her a sample.
Just a second. Sort of inconsistent with my life's experience of these things, but let's see. Had you gone to his store?
No.
You're walking through the mall. Is it an indoor mall or an outdoor mall?
Indoor.
And when you passed that store, tell me what happened.
I was en route to a specific store. A man with a basket was standing in front of the store.
So there was a man outside with a basket.
It was a basket holding a
Where
basket.
outside?
Right outside of the store.
And it wasn't this gentleman?
No, it was not.
Tell me what the person looked like who gave you the sample.
I believe he was Caucasian. He was shorter than Eric. I believe he was partially bald. and I believe he wore glasses, but I can't be sure. I would know him if I saw him.
Okay. And so continue with your story. Standing there with a basket of samples outside the store.
Okay.
Totally consistent with
So-
my own personal experience.
Okay, so he offered me a sample of a product, and I said, no, thank you, I'm not interested. And he said, no, please. He said, you'll like it. And I said, I'm in a hurry, and I'm not interested in any of your products. At that point, Eric walked a couple of steps out from the store and started showering my dog and myself with compliments, just like over the top. And he said, why don't you come in my store? I've got a surprise for you. You are going to love me, he said. I said,
So he was doing his salesman shtick.
yeah, pretty
And from
much.
the smile on his face, it's exactly what he was doing, his salesman shtick.
Yeah, and pretty much
You were
ran.
on commission.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so now he's showering both you and your little Shih Tzu with compliments on how beautiful the Shih Tzu is and how he's going to give you things that are going to take away this line and that line and this crease or whatever.
And I'm sound like such a sweet and kind person that, he's got a surprise for me.
I got it. Okay. Go ahead. So he got you into the store.
At that point, he asked me to have a seat. And again, I said, really, I'm not interested. I want to go. So then someone took my dog and
Where was the dog?
on a leash in my hand. And he says, here, I'll take your dog. And I said, no, I'll hold her. And he says, no, I'm going to take care of her. And I'm going, wait a minute. And next thing I knew, Eric was practically on top of me. This chair was located in a position, well, his chair was much higher than mine.
So you were sitting in a chair like mine?
Yeah, well, a chair, just like a,
A makeup chair?
yes,
Or a hairdresser's chair?
kind of like a makeup chair,
And he was sitting on a chair or a stool?
a stool.
Stool. Is that right, Eric? I'm talking to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's a yes. Okay. And your stool was higher than her chair.
That is incorrect. We both were sitting on stools.
The same stool.
The same stool.
Was yours higher?
No, it was the same size.
Okay, go ahead.
So at that point, he just started applying different products to I believe he started with my hand. And then, let me try some of this on your face. And I'm looking around for my dog, like, what's going on here? And because he was very aggressive and pushy and,
Just tell me what he did without trying to editorialize.
okay, so basically he
Not basically. He put on all this goop on your face, on your hands. Somebody else in the store was holding your dog while he was putting this on you. He didn't force you into the chair. He aggressively coaxed you into the chair, is what you're telling me, by complimenting you. I mean, he didn't physically drag you into the store. You walked in by yourself.
right.
Okay. He was using his best aggressive salesman routine. Not easy to get somebody in the store, right, Eric? I mean, it was never easy to get me in one of those stores, and I shop with her all the time. And she's got more lotions and potions and stuff on her counter than any other human being I know. And I've never seen anybody successful in giving her a free sample and getting her into the store. So you must be very good, because we have a few of those stores right in the neighborhood. You must be really talented.
He is.
Just a second. So before we finish with her, and since you originally started, Mr. West, with, no, it was me outside. It wasn't you outside initially. It was somebody else. You came out afterwards. Well, actually, I believe her. So I want you to understand that her description of the person who initially approached her was so specific. And then the fact that you came out and joined that person, because then you became a tag team, is totally convincing to me. I want you to understand that.
I didn't feel that I was going to be able to leave the store. I've been held against my will before and kidnapped. And I was literally traumatized at that point.
When were you held against your will and kidnapped?
Linda Bernadeschi claims salesman Eric West owes her a refund for skincare products she never wanted.
Do you have family, Eric?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Living family?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You don't want to make a fool out of yourself here, right?
Absolutely not.
Great. So I want you to understand that I believe the plaintiff when she tells me you weren't the initial person out there who stopped her with a free sample.
I was the only one working that day, Your Honor.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
Because you couldn't have got her where you got her to, which is the story she's going to finish, because by the time she got out of the store, she had $8,000 worth of your product.
Which is also not accredited by the Better Business Bureau and has multiple complaints out against them. So, just for the record.
No, that's an important record. Keep looking.
Okay, so at that point, I decided I'm going to leave and take my dog and get out of here. And I attempted to get up, and he was sitting higher up than I was in such close proximity that I was unable to fully stand up. And as he saw me attempting to, he comes back over with another product. He was across the store, and
Well, if he was across the store, Miss Bernardacci, if he was across the store, then he wasn't hovering over you. So what I tried to tell you before is I want you to tell me not what you think is best for your case. If either he's standing over you so you couldn't get up, or he's across the room. If he's across the room because he went to get another product, you could have gotten up and left.
no, actually, he wasn't across the room. He was just like, I think it was at the desk behind.
Whatever, he wasn't right on top of you.
No.
You don't understand. I don't believe that you were held against your will in the store. I don't believe that they did that. I think he was overly aggressive and he chose a target.
Yeah, and I was...
Okay, and at what point did you purchase all of this product, which is the subject of this case, because you want your money back?
I didn't feel that I was going to be able to leave the store. I've been held against my will before and kidnapped. And I was literally traumatized at that point.
When were you held against your will and kidnapped?
Oh, this was like 15 years ago, maybe?
Well, I would remember that, whether it was 15 years ago. I want you to tell me about that. That forms part of who you are and who the person is that I have to consider with regard to whether or not this was a forced sale or just an overly aggressive salesman. So I want you to tell me, was there a police report of a prior kidnapping? There was.
Yes.
And did they actually find the people who kidnapped you?
Yes.
Was there a trial with regard to those people?
I don't believe so because the guy was on parole, and so he didn't want to go to trial.
So they violated his parole and he went back to prison?
Yes.
And that was in California?
Yes. But
So when you were in the store and you said you felt as if you couldn't leave, you were under pressure, how many people were in the store?
well, there was Eric and the gentleman that was standing outside of the store, and then a woman came from behind the register in the back room, and he was telling me how this woman is a world-renowned facial beauty massage, whatever expert, running drag on me, pretty much. Let's just put it that way. Anyway,
Now you're up from your chair. I want to know how the sale came about.
well, because I didn't feel that I was going to be able to leave.
Okay, so tell me what happened.
Okay, so I said, look, I don't even have any money to cover this. And I'm looking...
To cover
he
what?
asked me for my
To cover what?
identification, to cover the cost of these beauty products he wanted to sell me.
Okay, how many were there?
There was 4 or 5 different
Creams.
creams, and then there was a device that, I don't know what you call them, but it was a device that he had used on me while I was sitting in the chair. And, you know, telling me, look in the mirror, doesn't this, you know, can't you tell a big difference? And he even took my phone and took a couple of pictures of me. He says, look at, I said, I can tell a little bit of a difference, but it's not worth the money. And again, I don't even have the money, so I really need to go. So he asked for my driver's license to register the product, and then he told me
To register the product.
the product that I bought.
Oh, so you did say you would buy the device.
Yeah,
You did say you would buy the device. And how much was the device?
it was just shy of $8,000. I've got the receipts right
I'd like to see it. Do you have it with you?
Oh, the device?
Yeah.
No, I wish I would have brought it with me, but it hasn't been opened. I still have it. I haven't touched it. You wanted to see the receipts? You
Yes.
They're right here.
By the way, what time of day did you go to the store?
This was approximately 6:30 because it was near closing time. Oh, here's the rest of them. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going specifically for one lipstick, and that was all I was at the mall for. And it was almost closed.
Sarah Rose,
Yeah.
take a look under that name.
I didn't find a device on their website. I already looked if that's what you're...
You looked at this 3D ultrasound and face body?
I've just found 6 products that are creams for face and body on the website.
I'd like to see what this 3D ultrasound is, this $8,000 piece of equipment that you sold her. You have a picture of it? Okay. Could you get that for me? He's going to give it to Sarah. Sarah's going to look up this nonsense.
Thank you.
Some more receipts.
So what I see that you did was spread some of this around different credit cards.
Yes.
And you want to tell me, how did that happen?
Well, I said, these aren't even my credit cards. I'm on the roommate's. He says, well, you could put half on your roommate's credit card. And I says, no, I am not going to do that. And he says, yeah, make him pay for it. And I'm looking at this guy like, what's going on?
What are you doing with your roommate's credit cards?
Because he's an older gentleman. I've got the power of attorney, and I shop for him. He's not able to do all that.
Is he a roommate or are you a
Yes.
carever?
He's a roommate. We've lived together for 30 years. Anyway, just a very
He hasn't been old and sick for 30 years.
Well, he's kind
He
of
may be old and sick now, but he wasn't old and sick for 30 years.
Oh, well, no. I mean,
Do you live together as a couple for 30 years? Do you live together as an almost couple?
No, he's like my father almost. We each have our separate rooms, and I pretty much take care of his house and cook for him. And he doesn't go many places. He's pretty much a recluse. He doesn't like to go to the store. And so I do all the grocery shopping and everything.
Okay. Who hired you?
It wasn't hired. I was in business with him.
Okay, well, it's getting more interesting. Who leases the store where you are? Don't look up in the air. It's going to get only worse.
Linda Bernadeschi is accusing salesman Eric West of holding her against her will and selling her an unwanted skincare wand.
Do we have a picture of that thing? Juven. It's
Yeah, I have it.
what?
I have it. It looks like this. It's got this on one side, and then I don't know what this is trying to show you.
Ultrasound, face and body, slimming.
Yeah.
She doesn't look like she needs slimming.
She asked for something that would tighten her skin, as she said that in her younger years she had a lot of issues with drug abuse when we had our conversations, and she's asking for something that can actually help her look more youthful and help her skin tighten. And this is something that she discussed with me when we were sitting at the table.
What's your educational experience?
High school, college.
Where?
I went to like a couple of film and television schools.
I asked you what college you went to.
Oh, Olympic College in Washington State.
And was that a 4-year program?
2-year.
2-year. Is that a brick and mortar college or is that an online college?
Brick and mortar.
And what did you study there?
Just the basics.
What basics?
Gen Eds, you know, your associates, your Gen Eds. And it had nothing to do with my sales and skincare, but my sales and skincare, I actually deal with every client fairly. And I pride myself
Don't tell me
in
that you
integrity.
deal with every client fairly. She wanted her money back the next day.
She didn't want her money back the next day. She didn't even come back the next day.
When did she come back?
It was like a week or two later, she came back to the store and wanted a refund. And I said, well,
No, just a second. Okay. She came into the store on February 21st, 2022. You get home with all these products. You spread it around. Let's say this is aggressive salesmanship. Now you're home. You had a previous experience with being taken against your will and held against your will, according to what you told me.
Yeah.
So you know that when that happens, the police get involved. You didn't go to the police
No, not
when you left to say, you know, I was held against my will. You took the products and you took the products home, right?
Well, I didn't go directly home. I went to my friend's house. She lives 2 blocks from there. I was so traumatized I couldn't drive, and I was beside myself.
Okay, that was February 21st.
Yes.
So what did you do next with regard to Mr. West?
Okay, so by that time it was about 9 o'clock at night, 10 when I got home, and I thought, well, I'll call tomorrow to tell him I want a refund. Actually, I called him and told him that, and he says, well, you're supposed to be down here.
When did you call him and tell him you wanted a refund?
It was the next day when he called me. He called me the next day and says, where are you? And I says, I'm at home. And he says, well, how come you're not here for your free 12 facials that I offered you? And I says, I don't want anything from you. And I didn't ask for anything from him.
So he called you to come in for a free facial?
Yes.
And
I says, I don't plan on coming in for any of the facials, much less 12 of them. What I'd like to come in for is a refund on these products that I don't need, and I felt pressured into buying yesterday, and I can't, I don't want them.
You say that didn't happen for a week?
Your Honor, she had a contract with us for 6 months worth of treatments, hydrofacials, that we included in her purchase that she signed. And
I'd like to see what she signed.
it's actually on my phone. I didn't print out a copy. I apologize.
Why not?
Because I was rushing this morning and
Well, you were rushing this morning. You knew you were coming to court for days. What do you mean you didn't print out a contract? Do you have a copy of a contract that you signed?
Yes, I do.
Fine. I'll take a look at your copy.
I also have a police report. Do you want to see the
I'd like to see a police report, and I'd like to see a copy of the contract you signed.
Okay, and here's some fictitious businesses that he's got as well. Okay,
I
the
can't hear you. Just hand me the stuff. Okay, this is the police report. I want to see the contract. I'll read the police report while you're looking for it.
Here's the contract.
Skincare, is that your company?
Is that the product you're referring to?
Yes.
Those are the medical devices that we actually retail in the store, and we demonstrate them on the clients. And then typically clients, when they see a difference, they're like, oh, wow.
Listen, you're not selling me, sir.
Oh,
stop
I understand.
This is not a sales pitch to me. What's your commission when you sell an $8,000 light to make your skin nice? What's your commission?
20%.
So yours personally is 20%. How much do they buy them for?
I'm not sure.
What do you think?
I have no.
What do you think? Take a good guess. You've been working for them for 3 years.
I don't know, and I think that you'd have to factor in like the rent for the establishment and all of those things. So I don't really know what the profit margin would be.
Your Honor, on their website, they state that each individually owned brick and mortar store is not affiliated with them, that they
So
run
it's
their own
franchise.
stores. It's sort of a franchise-esque situation.
Who owns your store, or is it a franchise?
It's a franchise?
It's not a question. It sounded like you were asking me a question. Is it a company-owned store, or is it a franchise?
There's a company that owns the store.
But it's a franchise.
Yes, I believe so. I'm not familiar with the legalities of the location and all the business agreements. And
Who
contracts.
hired you?
It wasn't hire. I was in business with him.
Okay, well, it's getting more interesting. Okay,
Yes.
so it wasn't to hire. You're in business with a man whose name is what? Don't think about it.
I don't
if
know.
you're in business with somebody,
Yeah.
you're a smart boy. You
I don't know how to pronounce
You
his
went to a
last
2-year college. What's the name of your business partner?
I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
What?
I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
Spell it.
So I don't actually know how to spell it. I'm sorry.
And who leases the store where you are? Don't look up in the air. It's going to get only worse. Evidence involving your store. You're aware of that?
I can't recall.
Sounds like such a Ponzi scheme.
This is Judy Justice. Previously on Judy Justice.
He aggressively coaxed you into the chair, is what you're telling me, by complimenting you. I mean, he didn't physically drag you into the store. You walked in by yourself.
Right.
So you must be very good.
She asked for something that would actually help her look more youthful. The medical devices that we actually retail, we demonstrate them on the clients. And then typically clients, when they see a difference, they're like, oh, wow.
Listen, you're not selling me, sir. I want to know how the sale came about.
And next thing I knew, Eric was practically on top of me. Well, I didn't feel that I was going to be able to leave the store. I've been held against my will before and kidnapped.
Who hired you?
It wasn't hire. I was in business with him.
Okay, well, it's getting more interesting.
I'm sorry.
And who leases the store where you are? Don't look up in the air. It's going to get only worse.
And now, the conclusion. Linda Bernadeschi is suing salesman Eric West for deceptively selling her skincare products she never wanted.
You know, I'm not sure she's entitled to a refund on all the products that she bought. I'm not thoroughly convinced yet that this was a situation where she was held against her will. But I've always been fascinated by these stores that want me to pop in and they give me a little white plastic thing and they stand outside, try this product. And, you know, you pass by and you say, no, thank you. I'm going to, no, you're beautiful. You know, this can take away the wrinkles in your face. I say, I make my money with my wrinkles in my face. Right? And I don't want to take them away. I want them to stay. So that's what it is. So I've always been fascinated as to the business aspect of it. And I digress for a moment because there was some scam company that was all over the internet that said I had created a skin line years ago. Couldn't find them. And they had all kinds of accolades, and it looked like it was sold through major companies online and endorsed. They had pictures all over. It was a scam. And they've done the same thing to numerous other people. And it's all scam. And you can't find them because they're on telephone banks someplace. Here and here, and as soon as the federal authorities get to one, they close down one and they go someplace else, sometimes offshore. So we were unable to find them. So all you could do is get on the horn and say to people, I don't own a skincare line. I've never endorsed a skincare line. Don't buy products that say that they're mine. So I've always wanted to know about these guys who stand in front and try to get you into the store with a little packet of freebies. So now it's your joint business?
Yes.
How much did you put up?
I honestly, I can't recall.
You can't recall how much money you put up? You've only been there 3 years.
I know, I don't remember how much the initial investment was.
Well, give me an idea. Was it $5,000, $500?
A lot more than that.
Well, if it's a lot more than that, you want to tell me how much your contribution was.
Couple $100,000.
It was a couple of $100,000. That was your contribution to the store.
Mm-hmm.
Is not an answer.
Yes, you're
Where
right.
did you get the $200,000 from?
I worked for it.
For whom?
I worked different jobs.
How old are you?
37.
And you had $200,000. You said a couple of $100,000. That's two. You had $200,000 so that you could invest that. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yes, and prior, before having a skin business, I had a grocery store on the XL mobile campus in Spring, Texas.
Okay.
We generated some revenue, and so I thought to open a spa and do products, sell products, and go that route. And I really do pride myself in integrity. I literally, every client that walks in, and I'm not just saying that.
So if you pride yourself in integrity, and within a few days of being in your store and selling this lady who had absolutely no intention of going shopping that day, an $8,000 beauty wand that's going to make her look like she's 30, she says, listen, I made a big mistake. I don't want this product. I want to bring it back. Let's say I keep the creams, but this was $8,000 and I don't have that. Why didn't you take it back?
Your Honor.
That's a question, Mr. West. If you
I'm
pride yourself on integrity.
I'm explaining. She came back way past the allotted time.
What's the allotted time?
We have a 14-day in-store exchange only for in-store credit policy when you purchase a product. She told me that she was using her husband's credit card. Now I'm coming to find out that it's her roommate or guy that she's living with. I don't know the whole story, but I can tell you that the whole interaction with her was extremely professional. There was no aggression.
I just asked you why. Now you have a lady who I've met, actually.
Yes.
Just here. And she gets home and she said, my God, what did I do? How did I get, there's a lot of fast talking here and a lot going on, and now I'm walking out with almost $10,000 worth of product. And I was going to buy a lipstick. And she says to you, I want to return this wand thing, whatever it is, for $8,000. And if what you're saying is you run a reputable business and you're busy and you had enough money to put down $200,000 in this business, by the way, you do file taxes every year, don't you? When was the last time you filed income tax returns? What year?
This year.
How much did you earn?
$173,000.
From this business?
From different businesses, but yes.
Are you in this location all the time?
Yes, typically in that location, yes.
When you're typically not in that location, where are you?
Florida.
Where?
Miami.
What do you do in Miami?
What most people do, sit on the beach.
Well, how often do you work?
Pretty much almost every month. And I take my weekends and I fly and spend 3 days and then work.
In Miami?
Yeah.
You go from California to Miami. Great. And she paid how much for all of that stuff?
Nothing. She only bought one eye cream. That was the initial.
Just a second. How much was the eye cream?
It was $600, I believe.
I have never, ever in my life spent $600 on eye cream.
Defendant Eric West claims the plaintiff, Linda Bernardeschi, purchased products with a no-refund policy. Linda felt she could not leave unless she bought the items.
So you still haven't answered my question. She comes into you within a relatively short period of time after she purchased all this product. She said, I don't have the money. I have to return this piece of equipment. And
She said that she... Oh, sorry. I
Go ahead.
apologize. She said that she found the products cheaper online a week and a half to 2 weeks later. She was upset.
Just a second. Did you call and say you found the products cheaper online?
Yes, but it wasn't that. It wasn't 2 weeks later.
How much later?
A week at the most.
How? Which products did you find cheaper?
The wand. I couldn't find the other products at all.
Okay, but you said you found the wand
Yes.
cheaper. Is that what you told him?
Yes.
Now, you looked for the wand. You had to go on,
Yes.
like Sarah does, on the machine,
Right.
and look for it. And now I have to assume, Miss Bernardeschi, I have to assume that if you went online to look at it, you tried it, because that makes sense. I want you to be very careful with your answer and not give me an answer that you think is going to help your case. But if I took the trouble to go online to try to find something, it would mean because I liked the product. So I would have tried it.
No.
Did you use the wand?
No, I have not. It's still in its original packaging. There's no way it could be opened and sealed back up. There's no way. I looked online because I wanted to see how much I got ripped off for.
Okay. And when you went online, how much did you find it for?
$597, I believe.
The same thing? Can I see what you found for $597?
Kind of.
Do you know what she's talking about?
I know that when you go and you buy a Cartier ring from Cartier, you can get it online
No.
for a cheaper price.
Listen to me, sir. Not what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
okay. Sorry. My apologies.
Mr. West.
I see what she's talking about. It's a very similar looking device listed for $575 from a different
see it.
store. Yeah. This is the initial one that I showed you for that amount. That's what the defendant handed us a copy of. This, for this price, is the same. I just copied and pasted the name of the machine into Google, and this came up. So it looks a little bit different, but
Okay.
same concept.
Would you go back to the other one, please, Sarah, the first one? And I want you to show me the comments that gave it a 5-star rating. 2 reviews.
Yeah, there.
I just want to look at it.
Looks like one from 2019.
Okay,
and
let
now,
me see the next one, please.
and now that I'm reading it, this looks as if it's for a different device. This says electrobionic.
So the review
That's
is...
listed here. It looks to
review
be for a
is
different
for
device.
a different product.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, she found it.
Okay.
She found it for me.
Sorry.
She found it for me, a different color, whatever. Anyway, so you called him about a week later.
Yes.
You called him about a week later and said, I found it cheaper.
Yes.
And what did he say to you?
He said, well, I can't give you a refund. He said that would have to be up to corporate. So I'll have to get a hold of them and get back with you. Well, he never did.
Taking what you say is true, you called him a week later and said, I found this very expensive product. The other thing were facial creams and potions and lotions, whatever. I'm not so concerned about those. I'm concerned about this $8,000 item. So you called and said to him with regard to the $8,000 item, I found it cheaper.
I don't think I told him that, no.
Okay, now let me read the police report. Okay, have you seen the police report, sir?
No, I have not.
Okay, so this is a police report by an officer who you don't know and doesn't know you. What happened was on the 8th of March, he received a dispatch to go to a location because the plaintiff had complained that she felt on the 21st of February that she couldn't leave the store and she spent over $9,000 at the store. So he went to see her because the case was a false imprisonment case.
Interesting.
And it said, while officer was en route, he asked his dispatch if there was any history involving your location. And it said there were 2 previous incidents involving your store. You're aware of that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And he read the papers of the events. There were 2 different complaints, 2 different complainants that were very similar that were reported by this plaintiff. It said that the other 2 victims were lured into the store and they felt as if they were not able to leave until they purchased products. One of the reports stated that the victim had spent over $100,000 on recurring charges and products that she didn't want. So, in a very small area, there's a little history there. I'm reading you what the complaints are, sir. Do you understand?
Absolutely.
Okay, let me finish. Okay, so the next day on February 22nd, you said you wanted a refund for the device. This is what you
Yes.
say, not for the creams, not for anything else, just for the device.
Yes.
Okay,
Your Honor, she didn't pay for the creams. She paid for 1 cream out of all the creams that she got.
whatever.
Okay.
But that's not where you made your money.
No, I know, it's on the machine.
That's not where you made your money, is on the lotions and potions. Okay, suspect 2, that was you, told him he was unable to give her a refund and would have to be done by corporate. Were you the one who told her that?
I spoke to her.
That's
No, I
either a
did not
yes
say
or a
that.
no.
No, I did not say that.
Tell me what you said.
I told her that she signed a no refunds agreement, and she understood that she purchased the sale, that it was a final sale because she got what she received.
What did she receive?
She received 6 months worth of services that she did not want, which were complimentary. She also received a full skin regimen, day cream, night cream, cleanser, toner, eye serum, eye cream, peeling gel.
And she paid how much for all of that stuff?
Nothing. She only bought 1 eye cream. That was the initial.
Just a second. How much was the eye cream?
It was 600, I believe.
Do you still run that place when you're not sunning in Miami?
No, and those are the only.
Just a second. That takes an awful lot for somebody who feels as if they've been taken advantage of to actually go to the police and said, I was duped by this dope, or a dope that was duped by this dope.
Defendant Eric West claims the plaintiff, Linda Bernadeschi, purchased products with a no refund policy. Linda felt she could not leave unless she bought the items.
The eye cream was $600. Okay. All right. Mr. West, I'm not going to waste any more time with this case. You're going to get your $8,000 back when Mr. West gets back his sealed wand. Do you understand?
Yes.
If it's been opened,
It hasn't.
if it's been opened, it belongs to you. Do you understand?
Yes.
If it's been opened and it came in a sealed package, it belongs to you. As soon as Mr. West receives, you're still in the same location? Are you still in the same location? That's either a yes or a no.
I'm not in the location, no.
What?
There's another operator there, but just for the record, I believe that we opened the device because she wanted to know how to use it at the store.
Just a second.
Okay.
So then you have no problem, sir. Do you understand?
Yes.
Unless she can return the item to you sealed, because she says it's sealed, and there's no way that it could have been opened. That's what she told me. If she opened it, that means she tried it. And if she tried it, it belongs to you. Do you understand?
Yes.
So within 5 days, he gets the product back. What?
I just want to show you this final sale
Just a
agreement that
second.
she wrote.
I understand what it says, sir. I understand what it says. I also understand that your little company had 2 prior complaints from that location. And it takes an awful lot for somebody who feels as if they've been taken advantage of to actually go to the police. Most people just write it off and said, I was being a real schlemiel and I was duped by this dope, or a dope that was duped by this dope. And just say,
Your Honor.
I'm going to eat it. What I'm telling you, sir, is I buy an awful lot of junk for my face. That's what old people do. They buy lotions and potions and stuff. I even steal some of hers. And I have plenty of dough. I have never, ever in my life spent $600 on eye cream. Ever. And so if she spent $600 on eye cream, that means she could have bathed in all the other products and you still would have made money. She is going to get her money back for this worthless piece of accessory, because it's worthless to her because she hasn't used it and she doesn't want it. And she's going to get it back from you when she produces the sealed package. That's it. And you're her witness?
Yes.
Do you live close by to this shop?
Yes.
Do you still run that place when you're not sunning in Miami?
No, and those are the only...
Just a second. The answer is no. What happened to that business at that location?
There's another operator coming in, and our contract ended recently. So there's another company
What do you
coming
mean?
in to run it.
Sounds like such a Ponzi scheme. The whole thing sounds like such a Ponzi scheme.
No, it's called COVID.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $8,000 when she produces the sealed item. Thank you very much. We're done here.
This court is adjourned.
This woman clearly had a bad episode of buyer's remorse, was emotionally unstable, used somebody else's credit cards that claims to be her husband, and God only knows what other kind of schemes she's trying to pull.
Well, I think the judge made a very sound decision because the guy is a total fraud.
She actually took advantage of me and took my time for 3.5, almost 4 hours, asking me, what is this? How does this work? What is this? How does that work? And I literally used all these products that she purchased and got to see results from that she was happy with when she left.
Absolutely manipulated me, went out of his way to manipulate me.
Well, she opened in the store, so if she does return it, she'll have to seal it again with some kind of plastic sealer that they use like for those old VHS tapes when they used to seal them after you watched them from Hollywood Video.
Beware, because there's a lot of frauds out there.
I stand by my products.
The product is intact.
For once in my life, I am so glad that when I'm walking on the street, and we've encountered these people in our walks just around, like you said, around our neighborhood, for my resting bitch face. Because never once have they looked at me and said, she looks like an easy target for us to pull into the store. Not once.
Would you give me an example of
Just, I think living in New York City as a woman alone, taking the subway for 3
I want
years.
you to look at me.
No, I can't recreate it. You know it when you see it. You know it when you see it. I'm sure it's on one of our episodes. But I just am so disgusted with people like that know exactly what they're doing. He suns himself in Miami on the weekends, all on the backs of these poor older people who feel pressured, and maybe like she was saying, she lives with someone who's a recluse, who I'm sure she doesn't speak to that many people, and that's the whole scam. And I just feel so terrible that this guy takes pride in his business that is scamming people.
It looks like a little bit of a shady business that he went into for $200,000, and now somebody else took it over.
And not anyone with a last name.
Yeah,
There's
right.
never anyone with a last name involved in these things.
People have to be careful. In the law, caveat emptor, let a buyer beware. That's okay. But this over-aggressive salesmanship reminds me, Sarah, of something that the Legal Aid Society, who were the defense team in family court, would argue in a closing statement in a robbery case to me. They would say to me, it's not a robbery. He was aggressively panhandling. That's what it was. It wasn't a robbery. It was an aggressive panhandle. This is just aggressive salesmanship, is what he's saying. Well, the line crosses between aggressive salesmanship and and what amounts to, at least in her case, and the case of at least 2 other people who went into that store feeling that they were uncomfortable about leaving unless they purchased something. You and I are tough birds. We would, you say, well, we're leaving. Oh, really? We're not leaving until we buy something? Yeah, right. But some people can't do that. That's not in their character. Anyway, if somebody puts them out of business, another business will just pop up. Yeah. Because as, I don't know, was it W.C. Fields said there's a sucker born every minute? I'm not exactly sure who said it, but somebody will tell me.
Why you hit me in the face?
Because I want my dog.
Explain that to me.
When I barge in, I'm just like, give me my dog so I can leave. I never once put my hands on him.
That's what happened when foolish young people decide to own a dog together.
This is Judy Justice. Jasmine Jones is suing her ex-boyfriend, Joshua Caldwell, for the cost of a French bulldog.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2120, Jones versus Caldwell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Jones, you and the defendant were in a romantic relationship that started about a year ago, more than a year ago. And then you decided to do one of the most foolish things that people do when they sort of fall in love, sometimes temporarily. You decided to buy a dog together. According to you, the relationship went south, and now we have this adorable dog that you want back. You say the dog is really yours. You were the one who was its primary caretaker. You paid for a vet bill. Mr. Caldwell said that's not the case. The dog was always supposed to be his. He purchased it, and it's your argument that if Mr. Caldwell is allowed to keep the dog, that you be reimbursed for the vet bills that you paid.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you and Mr. Caldwell live together?
Yes.
From when to when?
From February 1st of this year to September 3rd.
And in what month did you decide to get the dog's name is Scrappy?
Yes.
Scrappy.
We got Scrappy on January 18th.
So before you moved in together?
Yes.
Where were you living?
I was going back and forth from my mom's house to Joshua's. I already had a key in January. I was staying there.
Okay, but you were living with your mother?
Yes.
In January?
Yes.
And who was the breeder of this dog? Did you buy the dog from the breeder or from?
From the breeder, Andrew.
Now, Andrew was sitting over there on the defendant's side, so I assume that Andrew was a friend of your boyfriend's.
Yes.
Stand up, Andrew. I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
That's Scrappy.
Yes.
Scrappy is about 8 months old?
He just hit a year about 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh, so still a puppy.
Yes.
Looks very healthy. When Scrappy was purchased, was the amount paid for him the same as was paid for the other dogs in Scrappy's litter?
No.
How many puppies were in the litter?
5.
Did you charge Mr. Caldwell or Miss Jones for Scrappy?
Mr. Caldwell.
How much did you charge him?
$3,000, Your Honor.
Who paid you?
Joshua.
Mr. Caldwell, did he pay by check or cash?
Cash and Zelle payments.
Did you ever see Miss Jones in the purchasing process?
Yes, I seen her.
Tell me about it.
At the time, when they came to pick up the dog, she was his girlfriend, but there was no connection with me.
Was that the first time you had met her?
I've seen her around because we would work at the gym together. We're both personal trainers, so I would see her around the gym sometimes.
Had you discussed with your friend Joshua?
Yes.
While you were working with him in your personal training at the gym, had you discussed with him getting a dog?
Yes.
When?
I can't recall the exact date, but I know that he had seen that I had bought my dog and that I was getting into the business. So he contacted me early in, say, 2020, stating that, hey, I want to eventually, when you have a litter, get one of your dogs from you.
Do you remember what month that was in?
I'd say, well, Scrap was born October 2021. So around then, maybe a couple months before, when I let him know that the female was pregnant. So maybe around July, August.
Okay, of 2021.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so that was well before the two of you lived together.
Yes.
Did you ever hear from Miss Jones? Did she ever call you before you saw her when they both came to pick up Scrappy?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you can sit down now. Cute. Miss Jones, who paid for Scrappy?
Me and Joshua.
Show me.
I have here Zelle and Venmo payments to Joshua. The first one is in February, and then he didn't start asking me for large amounts.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. These don't look like anything like payments for the dog. What are those payments? $100, $500, $350 in June? What were those for?
They were all payments towards Scrappy. He started asking me for $200, $350 at
You mean
that
after
time.
you already had the dog?
Yes.
Because you got the dog.
Yeah, but he didn't pay for him straight up. And his friend told us that we could pay for him at will. He didn't give him money the first day that we picked him up.
Okay, I'll go back to you. How much money did Mr. Caldwell pay on the day he picked up the dog?
$0.
When was the first time he made a payment? Now you could stand up again.
He made a payment shortly after, within the first month, of about $300.
So in January, he made first payment.
Of $300.
And in January, there is no Zelle payment from you at all. When was the next payment? Do you recall?
I believe in March he paid another $200.
Well, do you have records of what you paid, sir?
Yes.
I'd like to see them. I just want to see what you paid and when you paid it. By the way, while he's looking for that, when you lived with Mr. Caldwell, did you both contribute to the rent?
My contribution to the rent was paying for the groceries, so I have all my receipts.
So the answer is you did not pay rent.
That was our deal. Me
But
pay
the
for
answer is you did not pay rent.
No, ma'am.
Did you pay any utilities?
Only when he asked me for extra money to pay his phone bill or to pay for the Wi-Fi sometimes.
And when you paid for these extra things, Wi-Fi or his phone bill, did you pay by cash or did you pay by...
The extra charges in there that I didn't highlight, the ones that are $20, $30, those are for gas. The $70 one is for his card.
Well, I just want to know how you know the payment in July for $200, what it was for.
I was only giving him money at that time. For Scrappy, he started asking me for large amounts of money for him. So that's when I gave him those. He didn't ask me for anything towards bills for that apartment.
Is Scrappy totally paid for?
No,
How much is owed?
$2,300.
So the only amount that was paid so far was $700.
Yes, Your Honor.
This is what happens, because relationships come and go. 50% of the marriages in this country fail. So why would you think a relationship is going to last as long as a French bulldog?
Jasmine Jones claims her ex-boyfriend, Joshua Caldwell, owes for the cost of a French bulldog. Joshua is countersuing for vandalism and an assault.
Okay, and this is an agreement that I, Joshua Caldwell, have agreed to buy Cashmere
That was his name originally.
from Frederick Wright. Once the dog is paid in full, I will receive full ownership rights. Frederick Wright will remain the rightful owner of Cashmere until I complete $3,000 in payments, right?
Okay.
And both of you signed this, and this was in January of 2022. That's a reasonable... What are you laughing at?
I'm not laughing. I'm just like, when did he even sign that? Because I was with him the day that we picked him up, and he never showed me any
Well,
contract.
but this is reasonable because he's not transferring any rights to him. He's going to remain the owner. He's the owner of the dog until the full amount is paid for the dog of $3,000. Right now, he said that the only thing was paid was $700. Go ahead. Now I'll hear you. Now I got it. Now you can sit down.
When I was present for us picking up Scrappy and purchasing him, it was word of mouth contract. There was no paper signing at all. He didn't even show me a paper.
And?
And he showed me him. He asked me if I liked him. I said yes. And he said he would go half on him with me.
Okay.
And I said, okay. And it was that same day. I get off of work. He picks me up. We go see Scrappy. Didn't know we were going to get him that day. We ended up getting him that day. He tells me, okay, it's just going to be $3,500. They walk to the back of the room and start talking and making an agreement. Come back
Okay,
out.
so just a second. So they went in the back of the room. You were not there. That's what you just told me. They went in the back to make an agreement, and then they came out. That's what...
He tells me it's going to be $3,500. They walk to the back of the room, make an agreement.
Right. Go ahead.
And then he comes back and we take Scrappy home. The next day, he texts me early in the morning and tells me that Scrappy might have gotten a bee sting or something because he was limping and he doesn't know what happened. I picked him up from his job that afternoon after I got off of work.
Okay, so you picked up the dog from his work.
Yes, picked him up and I went straight to my mom's house to get clothes because I was going back to his house. And I was examining Scrappy, no swollen paw, no bee sting. Then he said that he probably clipped his nail on the tile, and I'm just like looking at his paw, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it, but he's limping. Those were his stories. Still don't know what happened. Scrappy wasn't showing any signs of like pain, he was just limping. So I was like, we need to take him to the vet. Like he needs to get
So you
checked
took
out.
him to the vet. Okay,
Yes.
and?
The vet ended up telling us that he had a fracture.
You can't tell me what the vet told you. I'll look at the records from the vet.
Okay, sorry. I have the vet bills and the reports right here.
Did you pay any part of these vet bills, sir?
Yes.
Which parts?
I didn't have any record of it because I didn't see it coming. I honestly didn't know what happened to his elbow. Andrew was there as well. We were both kind of like, we don't know. So I found out after going to the vet that Frenchies have a ligament in their elbow, and this happens often.
No one is suggesting that anyone abused the dog.
Okay. Oh,
That's not the suggestion. My question was a simple one. Did you pay any of these vet bills? They're
Yes.
about $1,600.
Yes. I just don't
How
have
much
any
did you pay?
record of it.
What?
'Cause
He's lying.
I didn't ask you to interrupt. You have to understand, Miss Jones, you can't have this dog. First of all, this dog doesn't belong to either one of you. This dog belongs to him until the dog is paid for. So far, all he's gotten for the dog is $700. $500 of that he paid for. But right now, I I can't award ownership of the dog, but there's a contract that until this dog is paid for, the dog belongs to Mr. Wright. First name?
Frederick.
Frederick. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Simple. So you have a friend who has Frenchies, then I suggest that you go with your original plan, which is to buy a dog yourself.
Not
Now,
the same.
you have no proof that you paid any of these vet bills.
I just have the medicine with my name on it.
Well, the medicine with your name on it doesn't help. $1,600 in vet bills. And you have physical custody of the dog now, right?
Right.
And your agreement with Mr. Wright is that you don't get ownership of that dog until the dog is paid for. Yeah, I mean, I can't enforce your contract with regard to Miss Jones. The dog was not paid for.
I've already offered to pay him for the remainder of whatever Josh hasn't paid him.
The contract is with Mr. Caldwell, not you. So that's what happened when foolish young people decide to own a dog together. And they're not married, they don't even live together. This is what happens, because relationships come and go. 50% of the marriages in this country fail. So why would you think a relationship is going to last as long as a French bulldog? It's sort of ridiculous, and I've advised against it for the last 25 years. Nobody wants to heed this. So I'm faced with a situation where, when did the two of you break up?
I left it on September 3rd.
Well, now we're a couple of months, but
She didn't leave. She had to be. This is going to go into the assault charge.
I don't.
But
Listen,
she had
I
to
don't
be
care.
escorted
I don't
out.
care. Whatever. If
Fight.
I don't care.
packing
You
my
want
clothes.
Shh. I'll get to the counterclaim in a second. I will give it the same attention as I've given her claim for the dog. She's not getting the dog back. You have to, however, pay her the $1,600 that she paid for the vet. Do you understand? So that part of your petition is granted. Was the bill all paid?
I'm still paying it off currently. We both agreed to apply for care credit together, and whoever...
But it's your bill that you have to pay. If you work in accounting, you have a check, you don't
yes.
want that garnished, so you have to pay it.
I am paying it.
You have to pay it. Okay. And he's going to reimburse you for that. $1,600. All right, now let's get to this counterclaim and make short shrift of it. Money owed for assault and vandalizing personal belongings. Let's start with the assault. Allegedly, the assault took place when the plaintiff came home intoxicated.
I'm a kickboxer. On September 3rd, she came to my fight and she dropped me off at home.
That's a lie.
If you say it again, what I'm going to do, if you interrupt Miss Jones, again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dismiss your claim and you'll pay for these vet bills yourself. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead.
She didn't like the people that was at my fight there, and so she had a couple drinks. She got to my house and she started to fight with me, and I tried to remove myself from the fight, and then she started getting violent. So then I called her family to come pick her up, and they showed up maybe an hour later. In that hour, I tried to remove myself to another room. She went and got scissors and started to cut my shoes up. Then I had to try to grab my shoes and scrap and go into the opposite room, and she came in there and was trying to fight me. All the while all this happening, I'm recording her on video to make sure that
You have that recording?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
This would be me asking her just to leave. This whole thing is out of retaliation. What are you about to do? Are you hit me in the face?
Record me? Because I want my dog?
Fighting me. She won't stop fighting me. I've asked her to leave.
Explain that to me.
Jasmine Jones is accusing her ex-boyfriend, Joshua Caldwell, of owing vet bills for a French bulldog. Joshua is countersuing, claiming Jasmine assaulted him.
Okay. You have that recording?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
This would be me asking her just to leave. This whole thing is out of retaliation. Why are you hit me in the face?
Record me? Because I want my dog?
Fighting me. She won't stop fighting me. I've asked her to leave. Your stuff is in bags.
You're such a... Josh.
Okay. There you go. Here. Here you go again. On camera hitting me. On camera hitting me. On camera. You see her hitting me? There you go.
Explain that to me.
I wasn't dropping him off. We were still...
I don't care what you're dropping off. Explain that video to me.
I was pushing the phone out of my face because he had me on live and was saying my full name. He cut off parts of it.
Now, I just want to know what happened to you. This was clearly you were going after him. I don't know whether
knocking the phone out of his hand because he was saying my full name, saying I was crazy. I had already packed my stuff. I was leaving. We walk in the house. He calls me a dumb bee. and then goes straight to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna leave. Like, I'm not gonna deal with this. I had Scrappy by my side. I was packing what I could, taking it downstairs. I walk back up. He goes, oh, you're leaving? And he snatches Scrappy and locks him in the bedroom. And then when he goes to open the door is when I barge in. I'm just like, give me my dog so I can leave. And
well, I want to know what the violent stuff was about.
He was recording me, saying my name.
He was recording you.
Saying I was crazy and I wouldn't get out of the house. And I was like, stop recording me. And I was just hitting the phone out of his hand. I never once put my hands on him. He's already hit me and choked me in the past. So I would not go there to provoke him to hurt me again.
Did you ever report to anyone that he hurt you?
I told my mom.
Did you ever report?
No, I didn't.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yeah.
Were you injured?
I mean, I'm a fighter. I'm not gonna...
Were you injured is my question.
No.
Our family came?
Yeah.
The police were not called. You called her family instead. Did you pick her up? Stand up, please. You're a mother?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And this incident happened on what date when he called you?
It was about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
On...
Shh! Don't interrupt. On what date?
Labor Day.
Did you go to Mr. Caldwell's home?
Yes, I did.
What time did you get there?
Probably almost 4.
Had Mr. Caldwell ever called you before with regard to picking up your daughter or that she was... No.
No.
So this was a first?
Yes.
Now, when you got there, I want you to describe what you saw.
She was crying, she was upset, and I told her, come on, let's just go. And she said, no, I want to get my dog. I can't leave my dog here. He's been violent in the past. I've seen it. I told her, don't ever leave him with him again. After a beach incident where he, like, hit him. I mean, he's a kickboxer, like he said. He doesn't hit the dog like a normal person would just tap a dog. No, this was back in July. He was a puppy. He was a baby. And I was so furious when I saw that. He only did it because the dog snapped at him, because he was angrily packing him up into a dog carrier.
Would you do me a favor? Would you describe to me your daughter's condition?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Describe to me. You have to understand. Your daughter cannot get the dog. The dog does not belong to the defendant.
Okay.
The dog belongs to Mr. Wright.
What happens to the $1,310 she spent for the dog?
Well,
she sent that money to him.
I have to tell you something. I don't see anything in your daughter's evidence that suggests to me that any payments that she made to him had anything to do with the dog. Anything to do with the dog. Mr. Wright was very clear. He said he received $700 for the dog. There were 2 payments that were identified in his register as payments for Scrappy. There is absolutely nothing in your daughter's register that she gave me of these odd payments of $160 or $70 say Scrappy on it. Not one. So I've already made a determination of where the dog is staying. The dog is staying wherever Mr. Wright wants the dog to stay, because he owns the dog.
Okay.
Understand?
Yes.
So now, that's your daughter's case. I finished that part of the case. What I want to know is he has a counterclaim, and his counterclaim was that your daughter, while in an intoxicated state, assaulted him. Some of that I saw on this video. Some of it you saw on the video. Mr. Caldwell was honest, because it doesn't look as if he was injured as a result of that, and I'm absolutely not discounting the fact that no one should put their hands on somebody else, but an assault requires an injury. And so if this is is that dog sleeping?
No,
that is so funny.
Ignorance all the time.
That is so funny. So, Mr. Caldwell, can you show me what damage you allege Miss Jones caused your property? That's the next thing. You said an assault, which never happened because there was no physical injury. Would you mind telling me, please, what property specifically and photographs of that property?
I'll have it.
Okay, so your counterclaim's dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600 for the vet bills that she paid or is obligated to pay on her credit.
It's not assault unless I get hurt?
Yes, it's not an assault unless there is an injury.
So if I was
that is an attempt.
her up at her house?
That's an attempted, sir. It's an attempted assault. Do you understand? If an assault has a specific definition, I believe she probably attempted to assault you when she touched you in an unauthorized manner.
She's punching me in the face. That's not a...
Show me picture of any injury. Show me. No, I didn't see that in the video, sir. I saw her lunging towards you. Do you understand? I saw her lunging towards you.
Right.
I didn't see her hit you. I didn't see a photograph of any injury. I didn't see a police report where you reported any injury.
Or incidents with her being drunk and fighting other men.
Okay. Did you understand what I said? An assault requires injury. An attempted assault does not. An attempted assault is a crime, but it's a crime which I choose because of the circumstances here, not to consider and not to award you any cash award because you were not injured in any way. So unless you have photographs of the pair of shoes that you say she cut or something else, I'm dismissing your counterclaim. We got it? Good. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Scrappy was not just like a dog or a pet, like he was my support.
I mean, it was fair. Obviously, she had nothing to do with the dog.
It's expected because he lied the entire time that we were together.
And that's a lie.
And not to have given him any of the money that I put towards Scrappy.
She literally just got all the transactions that we've ever done between each other on Venmo or Zelle and brought that to court.
Now I just think like he was pocketing that money the entire time.
That's why it was dismissed, because it wasn't valid at all.
I disagree with you a little bit on the countersuit of the assault charge. I have a more, I guess, broad overview since I'm just out of school with the common law. So assault versus battery, as far as I learned, was assault was just the imminent threat of a harm. You're fearing for your life or offensive contact of some sort, whereas battery is the actual offensive touching. There has to be some sort of contact. So if we're ruling by common law, which I know we're not bound by any particular state's jurisdiction, I would have awarded him something for the assault claim.
My training is in New York, and in New York there is no crime of battery. My training was it's assault, and for an assault there has to be a physical touching and injury, and an attempted assault is placing someone in fear of imminent physical injury. I think you're probably right that there are jurisdictions that are different. We didn't actually see any contact between her and him.
And he was honest. He said, you know, obviously I didn't have any injuries, but...
Right, just as he didn't have any evidence to support the fact that she had destroyed or damaged some of his personal property. Unfortunate, but you make a good point with regard to the assault. You collided with her car on the driver's side.
Yes, Your Honor.
He had cut through the intersection. He was not in the walkway.
I just went like around here and through this crosswalk.
In a crosswalk?
Yeah, I was in the crosswalk.
You know when they're telling a fib?
How?
When their mouths are moving.
This is Judy Justice. Carrie Cargill is suing Joseph Simonet for car damage after Joseph's 15-year-old son hit Carrie's vehicle.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Good morning.
Case 2138, Cargill versus Simonet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Cargill, you and the defendant's son had an accident while you were driving your car, and Mr. Simonet's son was driving his electric scooter.
It was like a skateboard, a one-wheel skateboard.
Tell me your name.
Jacob Simonet.
Describe this vehicle that you were riding on.
It's got 2 spaces for your feet. Has one in the back, one in the front.
No, try to look at me. I'm trying to see you.
Oh.
Trying
There's
to
one in the
go
back,
like this.
one in the front, and then there's a big wheel in the center. And you put your feet on either side, and then it balances, and you ride it kind of like a skateboard.
Oh, I actually
had
have
a feeling
picture
you might
of
need it.
myself riding on one of those for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
We bought it for one of my grandchildren years ago, but it's motorized.
Yes.
It has a motor.
It's electric.
And how fast does it go?
Tops out at about 17 miles an hour.
17.
Yes.
That's pretty fast. Are you required to drive that on the street where pedestrians walk or where cars ride?
On the sidewalk with pedestrians.
Sidewalk.
Yes.
Do you drive it on the sidewalk?
Yes, I do.
Do you ever drive it in the street?
I do not.
Now you're going to tell me what happened on the date of this incident, which was August 17th.
This year, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was going south after work, and I was going to crossing through the intersection. I had the green light.
Is there a chart?
Yes. Yeah.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I was crossing the intersection.
You're the blue car.
I'm the blue car. And I had the green. It was going, and Jacob had cut through on the red into the green and slammed into the side of my car. He had cut through the intersection.
So he was in the street where the cars travel,
Yes.
not on the sidewalk.
Right. He was not in the walkway.
Okay, Jacob, I want you to walk up to that sign and show me where you were when you and the plaintiff collided.
I was about right here.
You were in a crosswalk.
Yeah, I was in the crosswalk coming through about
Okay,
right.
is that what, Jacob, is that what the police report is going to indicate?
Um,
That you were in the crosswalk?
I don't know.
Well, I assume that there is a police report. Is that correct? Police report's going to tell me where the debris was, I assume. The debris is either going to be in a crosswalk or it's going to be in the street. Where do you think it's going to be?
Some of it was in the street.
Show me the street that you're talking about.
About like right
No,
here.
put your finger on it. Don't go around where it's
About right here.
right there. That would be in the middle, right? That would be in the middle of the street where the cars travel, not in the crosswalk.
Yeah.
Yes. It's easy.
Sure.
How old is he?
15.
15. I've had a whole bunch of those who are 15. You know when they're telling a fib?
How?
When their mouths are moving.
He's a pretty good kid.
All of my kids are pretty good kids. But you can always tell.
Figure it out, huh?
Yeah, you can usually tell. Is this your first only?
Both. First and only.
First and only. Oh, well, she probably had some experience with that anyway.
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay, and this happened at what time during the day?
I believe it was about 4, a little after 4, 4:30.
So it was light out.
Yes.
You collided with her car on the driver's side.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, on the door of the driver's side.
The fender.
Fender.
Yes.
Side fender?
Yes, side fender.
Okay, not the front of the car.
The front fender of the car.
Front fender of the car on the side. I'm talking about it was the side or the front?
The side.
Side. So you collided with her.
Yep.
Because cars don't move sideways.
Yes.
He could have been quite seriously injured.
Yes, he could. He hit the side of the car and he flew up onto the hood and then kind of rolled across the hood, hit my windshield, and then fell onto the ground. And when I stopped, he jumped up, appeared at my window, and apologized, and then asked me if I was okay.
What did he say?
Just said he was sorry. And then he asked me if I was okay. And then I asked him if he was okay. And then he asked me if I was okay. And it went back.
So far, is that right?
Bit.
Yes.
Okay.
And which I was very impressed by, that he was more worried about me than anything else. I moved my car out of the road, onto the side of the road. There was an EMT that was across the street from us, and he came over and assessed him if there was any more damage. He got some road rash and things like that, but he was not seriously hurt, at least that we noticed at the time.
Do you have the police report?
I do.
I'd like to see it, please, Kevin. Thank you. One witness said that he was right next to you and that you went past him and that the light was red. His light was red, which is why he was stopped. That's what I'm reading. He did say that his light was red when the kid initially passed in front of him. Did you get a copy of this police report?
I've seen it, yes.
Explain to me, would you put on this again and leave that one on because that's the version that I believe. Would you walk over there and explain to me what cut the corner was, what you were doing? It talks about cutting the corners. So I want you to understand, I believe that, based upon what I'm reading here, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want you to show me how you cut the corner.
So I was coming to this one, and I went through, and instead of going here and just going through the sidewalk, I just went like around here and through this crosswalk.
What's cut the corner?
Cut the corner here, right there.
You mean just that little space is what you're talking about? You cut the corner?
Yeah, I went from about...
I want you to understand, I believe that you were in the street. I believe you were in the street, not in a crosswalk. So let's run through that again. Would you please show me what cut the corner was?
Went through here, and I came here, and I cut here. So right there, I cut the corner.
He is a nice boy, Mr. Simonet.
Thank you.
You know what my father told me when he gave me my first car? I think I was 17. It was like a tank. He said, because if you get in an accident, I want you to be surrounded by 4,000 pounds of steel.
And later today,
Your claim is that you won a whole bunch of money in some gambling thing. I just want you to tell me how much you won.
Before taxes or after?
Both.
Carrie Cargill claims Joseph Simonet owes for damage after his 15-year-old son hit Carrie's car while riding an electric skateboard.
Okay. The police determined that based upon the eyewitness testimony that the pedestrian, Jacob, is at fault and believed to have crossed the intersection before having the right-of-way. The vehicle had the green light. In any event, do you have photographs of your car? This happened in August, and you were called to the scene by your son, is that right?
Correct.
And you got there, you know, that he was a little banged up, but thankfully...
He was in an ambulance when I arrived, but shortly after, yes, he did walk out of the ambulance and suffered some injuries, which I have pictures of if you'd like to see them.
I'm sure he was banged up. He had bruises from falling off them.
From being launched from the vehicle after the collision, correct.
Okay. You know, he was really lucky that she wasn't going faster.
Correct. Could have been much worse. We were thankful for his health and the outcome of the incident.
You're right. Okay, can I see an estimate to fix your car, please? Thank you. What kind of a car do you have?
A 2015 Equinox Chevy?
You had full coverage on the car, is that right?
Yes.
But with a $1,000 deductible?
Yes.
So if you put this through to your insurance, you have a $1,000 deductible?
Yes.
Right. Anything else you want to tell me, Jacob?
No.
Do you still ride one of those things?
It's broken. I didn't get a new one now.
It was destroyed in the accident.
You know what my father told me when he gave me my first car? I think I was 17. He bought me the oldest, ugliest car. But it was like a tank. All my other friends were getting these nice, cute little cars. And this one was like an old person's tank Cadillac or something. You know, we're talking 50 years ago. And I said, why do I have to have this car where everybody else has cute cars? He said, because if you get in an accident, I want you to be surrounded by 4,000 pounds of steel. That's pretty much the lesson that I've sent out there. 4,000 pounds of steel. One and only, surrounded by lots of steel. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Overall, I'm happy.
She had some fault due to hitting a pedestrian in a crosswalk.
It was surreal, like out of the movies.
Your heart stops, and all you can do is look for the car keys and panic and get there as fast as you can.
I am so glad that he was okay.
I remember just flying through the air, and then I was on the ground, and I got right up.
Be very careful.
Count your blessings and enjoy every moment that you have, because things could change in an instant.
I know these electric scooters and skateboards are very popular, but even before this case, I tried to look up any rules, laws, regulations. There are a few for electric motorbikes and things like that, but far fewer than I would expect for a machine that can go up to 17 miles an hour when you're 15.
I think that you're right. I think that since those things have become so popular, there really have to be enforced rules. And parents, and this is a very nice father and son, but I've seen kids weave in and out of cars. It always looked like an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah. And this one could have ended in a real tragedy.
He was lucky, and his father knew he was lucky.
Yeah.
Case 2124, McPherson versus Hall. All parties please step forward.
Gerald McPherson is suing his ex-girlfriend, Natasha Hall, for money she received during their relationship.
Mr. McPherson,
Yes.
how old are you, sir?
40.
What kind of work do you do?
Home care aid?
Independent, or do you work for a company?
Home care aid agency.
For an agency?
Yes.
How long have you been working for them?
About a year now, but I've been doing home care for about 3 years.
Prior to working for them the past year, and you're still working for them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. Was there a period of time when you were unemployed?
Not more than maybe 3 weeks, but since I know Miss Hall...
No, I don't want to know about Miss Hall.
No, I'm telling you my employments that since I've lived in her residence, I've always worked. I worked at the zoo, Census Bureau.
Don't try to think ahead of me.
Okay.
There was a period of time in 2020, according to you, that you became homeless and were living in a shelter.
Yeah, that...
And that was in what month in 2020?
In June. So, if I can explain the situation. I was living in a house that a slumlord wasn't doing the repairs. So I ended up forcing his hand, him selling the property, and the new landlord and my...
Could you look at me when you're talking?
I'm sorry. The new landlord and my other ex, they kept the property. I moved out. I went to a shelter because I didn't want nothing to do with her or the.
You're talking about her?
No, ma'am.
Well, then don't keep pointing to her. I'm asking you.
I'm just pointing in general. I'm not pointing at her.
You actually pointed
I'm sorry.
to her. When you were in the shelter, were you employed?
Yes, for the Census Bureau, going to census. I was actually out in the field knocking on doors. I was an enumerator.
So you were not working in home health care. You were a census taker.
At that time, yes.
And did you have a child living with you?
Yes, well, not in the shelter, no. I could not have my daughter in the shelter.
How old is your daughter?
10.
And where is her mother?
She's deceased.
Where was your daughter living when you were in the shelter?
With my mother.
Is she living with you now?
She's been with me since June.
In a new apartment?
Yes, I moved in August 1st.
She goes to school from your apartment?
Yes.
Okay. In 2020, you became acquainted with Miss Hall, and there came a time shortly thereafter, uncross your arms, and there came a point shortly thereafter when you moved into her home.
In August, yes.
Of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And you remained in her home until what month and year?
August of 2022.
And in what month and year did you regain custody of your daughter?
June of 2022.
So there was a period of 2 months when you and your daughter lived in Miss Hall's home.
You could say that, but...
Well, I'm saying that because I just asked you a question about timeline.
No, because me and Miss Hall was going through our dispute about this money, my daughter was staying with my grandma. I only brought my daughter there on certain occasions.
When I say you regained custody of your daughter, was that a court order?
Yes, I have it right here.
Just a second. Was the child removed by court order from your custody?
It was removed because the house...
Don't tell me because.
Yes,
it was yes.
Yes.
I have lots of things to do today.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Child was removed from your custody.
Because I didn't have nowhere to live at the time.
Was the child removed from your custody before you moved into the shelter?
She was removed because I was in the shelter.
Did you take her to the shelter?
No, I was not allowed to because there's no men.
So at that time,
female.
Did she go and live with your mother?
Of course.
Was that by court order?
No, it was
brought her to your mother.
Yes.
May I see the court order that involves custody, please? I'm not getting an answer.
This is the court order, and this is these two forms. Now that court order is the current.
Okay, so the child was placed with the Commissioner of Social Services in Pennsylvania. And the child was placed in kinship foster care, which is a program that I am very familiar with the child's paternal grandmothers. So in June of this year, the child was returned to your custody. At some point in August of this year is when you and the defendants separated and you left the house. This is your claim. Your claim is that you won a whole bunch of money in some gambling thing. What kind of gambling thing? I don't want to go back to the year, Gimel, sir. All I want you to do is tell me how much rent you were paying her.
To be honest, I
don't know. I want you to be dishonest.
Gerald McPherson claims his ex-girlfriend, Natasha Hall, wrongfully spent the money he gave her for rent.
Your claim is that you won a whole bunch of money in some gambling thing. What kind of gambling thing? I want you to look at me when you talk, not at the papers.
No, I was gonna...
In what kind of gambling thing did you win money?
I betted on 25 games.
What 25 games?
NBA, college, hockey.
Okay, and you bet where?
On FanDuel. It's an app called FanDuel.
Okay, and you won?
Yes.
I don't understand the whole thing. I don't want to learn the whole thing. I don't care about the whole thing. I just want you to tell me how much you won. Before taxes or after? Both.
Okay, $36,742, and after taxes, $26,889.
On what date?
So I won the bet on the 28th. It came into my account.
28th of what?
January.
Of what year?
This year.
And you had been living with Miss Hall for 2 years?
Prior, yes.
Okay, and you were working according to you all of that time?
Yes.
Okay, good. Were you paying any rent to Miss Hall?
I have receipts.
Yes, I want to see those. How much rent were you paying?
So when I met Miss Hall...
I don't want to go back to the year, Gimel, sir. All I want you to do is tell me how much rent you were paying her.
To be honest, I had to pay
I don't know. I want you to be dishonest with me.
Half her rent is like $425, and she had me pay half the gas and half the electric and half the cable.
Her rent was $425?
No, it's $850. I had to split it. We're
$850.
paying half and half.
Miss Hall,
Yes, ma'am.
what kind of work do you do?
I do customer service.
And who else lives in the apartment with you?
My children,
How old are they?
14 and 13.
How large is the apartment?
It's a 2-bedroom.
And the total rent is $850?
Yes, ma'am.
There's no subsidy involved?
No subsidy at all.
Okay. And you have a lease?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you charge, if anything, Mr. McPherson as rent?
$425.
Well, that doesn't quite sound fair, does it? Did she make a figure with you of $425?
I paid more than that. I paid $425. That's half of the rent. I paid half of the electric and half of the internet bill.
There are 4 people in the house,
Yes.
right? Why is he
But
paying
we're
for?
only two
Why was he paying for half the rent?
Oh, my children don't work, and his child didn't work either.
His child wasn't with you.
The child came with us in June, but she had visitations on weekends.
I don't care if she has visitation. Your children live with you.
Yes.
They don't have to work. They're your children. They're not his responsibility. Okay, I just want to know where everybody's head is at. There came a point, Miss Hall, when Mr. McPherson gave you $6,000 in cash.
No, not in cash.
Check.
No. Both of them was wired. One was directly wired into our Bank of America account.
When? Just a second. When?
The first transaction was on January 31st. The second transaction...
January 31st of?
This year. And the second transaction was the next day, February 1st. $12,000 total.
Do you acknowledge, Miss Hall, receiving $12,000 in your account from Mr. McPherson, or do I have to look at his records?
I do not acknowledge. He gave me $6,000 and $4,500.
$6,000 and $4,500, Mr. McPherson. Does that sound right?
No, it's not right, and I'm going to show you.
Let me see your bank record.
All right, hey,
And
sir.
Let us assume that it's $6,000 and $4,500 that he gave you in this year, 2022.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. Let us assume for the moment that you're correct, because you're suing for $6,000.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, because the first initial $6,000 was 8 months rent. That I'm not.
Let us assume that you are correct, that he gave you $6,000 and $4,500. I'm taking you at face value. In January and February of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the money for?
That he gave me?
Yes. The 2 different amounts of money.
Yes.
There's a $6,000 and a $4,500.
$4,500 was for me to pay my car note off. And
Hey, just a second.
Go ahead.
Why would he pay your car note off?
He said he wanted to.
Oh, no. That's ridiculous. Miss Hall, let me just check.
Can I say
Shh. No.
He even wrote that on there for your car note.
No, you said in January he won a bet and cashed it out. A few days later, he gave me money via Cash App to catch up on his rent and as a thank you for helping him out. I don't see anything here about gift for a car note in your answer.
So he gave me the money for the car note, and as far as the Cash App money, he gave me money lots of times. So yeah,
I'm talking about the $6,000, madam.
Yes.
Let us assume he gave you $4,500 to pay off your car note. That's what you said.
Correct.
What's the $6,000 for?
The $6,000 was for us to move.
For who to move?
Me and him.
Show me.
The $6,000?
Yeah, show me that there's proof. He says he gave you the money according to his complaint to hold for him.
Yes.
Shh.
We
Just a second. Yeah, February 3rd, he gave you $6,000. This just says he gave it to you.
Yes.
And?
And he told me to hold it so we can move.
Well, you didn't move.
No,
you didn't. Shh. He told you to hold it for him so that you could all move.
No.
So who could move?
So me and him and our children could move.
Well, that's what I just said.
I apologize.
So that we could move.
Correct.
But you didn't move together.
Correct.
So you have to give him his money back. That's simple. Just a second. That's simple. If you say he gave you the money so that the 2 of you could move, and that event never took place, but he in fact moved out, you owe him $6,000.
But then he agreed.
Just a second. That's an easy. Okay. Do I have to deal with anything else? Money for lost wages, rent, utilities? Forget it. He paid all of that with the $4,500 when he paid off your car note. Come on, let's get it together. Lost wages. What are the lost wages for?
But then I had to take off from work because of the PFA, and I had to take off from work to go file out the court and things like that. But in the midst of him saying the $6,000, he didn't pay rent. He didn't pay all of his rent.
He paid off your car note. You owe him $6,000. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Okay.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I don't agree with the judge's decision. I don't think I owe him the money.
That's what women do.
Because he gave me a gift and he didn't pay rent.
I also spent $2,000 on her in gifts.
What's done is done.
I'm taking a break from women for quite some time now.
So I'm glad that the plaintiff's daughter didn't have to go into the larger foster care system and was able to stay with plaintiff's mother. But I was curious that if this was a temporary slip-up and he wasn't going to be permanently without housing, why wouldn't he go with his daughter to his mother's house? I was surprised you didn't ask him that question.
You're right. You're right. It's a curious question.
To me, it just seemed like it might have been a better situation to crash at your mom's house with your daughter
With
for
your
a while,
daughter.
but
I'm not sure whether I have that whole story because they continued the child in care for a period of time, at least for almost 2 years, because he didn't have custody of her while he was living with the defendant.
well, one easy part of the case was that he was owed his $6,000 back.
That
So
was
that's all
that
we
was
had to deal with.
yeah, that was easy. Once she got her hands on that $6,000, and he was no longer in the picture, it was hard for her to give up.